Within the warp, the Gellar Field is a key device for ships of the Imperium. It deploys a bubble of reality within the tides of the warp, a safe area for people to travel in whilst they're on the ship, until the Navigator brings them back out again into the materium. But what if that same idea could be used as a bomb? And a member of the mechanicum found it. He in fact finds an STC plan that shows how to build one. That's what we draw on today, 2 novels worth, Tech Priest and Skitarius by Rob Sanders. So let's begin. An STC plan comes into the hands of Omnid Torquo Race, and he presents it to the Fabricator General. It's an STC schematic for a Gellar device or imperial bomb. One of his lackeys says what this device could do for the Imperium. The Imperium and the Martian Empire are beset by warp storms in the void, and immaterial storms within the ether itself that frustrate communication and physical expansion. This device would revolutionize warfare and travel. We could be looking at another golden age for both empires. As a weapon, the Megos continued, it would deny the pollutive entities of the warp purchase on the dimensional reality of worlds sacred to the Omnisire. A powerful tool in our never-ending fight against the incorporeal threats that they claim to our very plane of existence, the plane where flesh and iron exist in harmony. The STC plan also points to one other innovation for you, friend, to like the video, to help this little engine that could stand out in the tides of the algorithm. One of the Fabricator's lackeys is told to make it, whilst Omnid will also play a role. Overall, they want to use the device to pull back warp storms that have caused the loss of Forgeworlds. It's tested using the ship Nicia, and as the Skitari officers, Stroiker's optics focused and filtered cycled, he began to appreciate an opening in the swirling maelstrom, like a drop of ink on parchment, soaking and spreading outwards. The blast wave of the Imperial bomb pulsed powerful. Gellar waves out through the storm, the same life-preserving fields that encapsulated warp-capable vessels during immaterial travel, now expanded, establishing a bubble of reality in the southwest corner of Great Gear. With a quarter of its dread maelstrom cleansed from the void, the cyclonic nightmare of its form had been disrupted. A Forgeworld called Velchenos Magna has been freed from the warp storm, and the Mechanicus fight to take it back. Striker sees, after fighting on the surface, the Arch Mechanicus ship on which they had travelled there fall before the Dark Mechanicum Forgeworld. It's split in two. Iron Warriors had arrived and wanted the Dark Mechanicum Forgeworld for themselves. Part of the Arch Mechanicus ship, the Opus Machina, crashes on the Forgeworld. Striker orders they hold the Magnaplex Maximal and its secrets until more Mechanicus ships arrive to rescue them. They fight through dark mech forces and enter the temple infotombs, where he finds the schemata for the Gellar device. He meets the head of the Dark Mechanicum, the Arch Fabricant, who says Idris Krendel of the Iron Warriors took that information, and Striker sees the Iron Warriors leader has set things in motion. He had allowed the Adeptus Mechanicus to recover the wonder of the Gellar device, in the predictable expectation that such a find would be constructed and tested on the nearest warp storm anomaly in the sector, the Great Gear. You think that you were the first to construct the Gellar device? The Arch Fabricant mocked. The wonder was ours. We built the etheric bomb and test detonated the device in the nearby Maelstrom. We foolishly hoped to drive the storm and the things that inhabited it back into the warp. A single device reduced the Maelstrom by half. We're eager to get back to Velchenos Magna to build another bomb to finish the job. What we hadn't realised was that in strengthening the interdimensional bonds of reality in one place, we weakened them in another. Travelling up the warp trails of our arc ships back to Velchenos Magna, a new storm erupted. The real space anomaly you call the Great Gear. Magi and citizens of Velchenos Magna welcome the new age, a dark age of enlightenment. After the Arch Fabricant is killed and the Iron Warriors teleport into the infotombs, Striker fights Idris Krendel in the conflict that follows and loses, and the leader of the Iron Warriors says this: with an ugly sneer. Flesh, iron, you are unworthy of either, tin soldier of a tin god. Then finally, to the iron warriors gathered about him, Crendel commanded, this one lives, if you can call this living. He thinks he honours his maker with the gargle of each drowning breath, but we shall show him that is not the way. We will show him what it truly is to suffer for his god. Then in the next novel, Skitarius, we pick things up with Omnid, who is fighting to free the Forgeworld and others from both Iron Warrior and Dark Mechanicus alike. A Mechanicus visitor to Omnid suggests they use the Gellar device again. He says, I speak against the foolhardy Adeptus Mechanicus, whose priests roam the galaxy like carrion crows, picking the past clean of dangers long lost and ushering them into the present. Nevermore, nevermore. Such artifacts should be uncovered only so they can be destroyed and plague the galaxy no more with histories repeated. A large Gellar device is made and an assassination attempt made on Omnid. He identifies the Dark Mechanicum construct as the former head of his Skitari striker. The outcome of this, he says, is that the bomb needs one final test. Engage the phase fielding as a stage 1 build-up to detonation. Then, bathed in the intense reality of the Gellar Field, the Archmagos watched Striker undergo a transformation. The cursed metal of his augmentations melted to pool that bubbled and evaporated. Corrupt workings sizzled, sparked and blew like fuses, whilst his goggles melted down his cheeks in rivulets of black molten glass. With the filth of corruption gone and dirty lines lacing his field-bleached flesh, Striker was but a surgery-mangled torso and head. Unconscious now, his features had relaxed, enjoying a peace he had not known for a long time. Omnid orders his forces to hold the Dark Mechanicus off for as long as possible. With enemy contingents in the mines, the Gellar device could not be primed and abandoned as initially planned. He selected the deepest place on the planet as its detonation site. Omnid aimed to do what the Luminan could not conceive of doing. He would destroy both worlds together. The long-corrupted forge world of Volcanos Magna would suffer the explosive force of the Gellar bomb first-hand, taking as many heretics and traitors with it as he could engineer. The destructive energies would travel back along the warp trails the Satsican reinforcement fleet had left in the Materium, just as they had done with Omnid's own. This time, however, with the greater destructive capabilities of the second bomb, the Archmagos hoped to bring forth from the warp storm such destruction, such catastrophic intensity, that his fallen homeworld would be blasted apart. They managed to set it off even as the forces of chaos run towards it. First, the obliterati were dead, forced back by the expanding phase field of the Gellar device. The warped case space marines had felt the excruciation of the machine god's purifying touch. In the aftermath, Idris Crendel abandoned the traitor Forgeworld. The tech priest took in the catastrophic spectacle of the dying world. The Gellar device had successfully detonated at the bottom of the Autarchus Chasma deep core mines, close to the demonic heart of the planet. At the destination of the original device, the Gellar effect had spread rapidly through the warp storm and the Great Gear, imposing the stability of a fortified reality on the area and driving back the rift of immaterial intrusion. Omnid could only hypothesize that detonating the Gellar bomb within the confines of a planet had delayed or contained the effect. Surveying the dreadful demise of the Volcanos Magna, the Archmagos did not believe that such containment would last long. The planet was turning itself inside out. Quakes and chasms were visible, even from the void. Huge swaths of the planet's surface, its twisted industrial scape, its forged temples devoted to otherworldly entities, and the cratered wastelands across which the servants of the Adeptus Mechanicus and the Dark Mechanicum had fought were gone. At the core of the planet, there was an elemental battle for supremacy, with the irresistible force of the Gellar effect asserting its reality over the infernal presence of the mighty demon. The entity had indeed been powerful, but could not hope to survive the explosive intensity of an expanding bubble of reality opening up within its core. The seething, thrashing, hissing iron had raged up the walls of the great chasm that ran like a scar across the Forge World's surface, swallowing the shipyards whole, with vessels under construction and demon ships blessed in its name. The Abystra Denomicron broke its banks, crashing across heretics, forged temples, the mighty factory complexes and production centres. The demon submerged the world that had worshipped it in a hellish flood of molten metal. Unlike the Iron Warriors, the priests and corrupt constructs of the Dark Mechanicum, who had served the demon as they served themselves, remained to become one with the apocalyptic deluge of liquid metal. They gathered in the freightways about the forged temples and on the banks of the furnace channels that crisscrossed the planet. They waited for their literal baptism of fire, iron, powerful, infernal and forever. They did not know their world was dying and that they were to die with it. As the tech priests watched, glowing cracks began to rip through the iron shell of the planet's surface. Splits and rents worked their way across the planet, joining with one another. The iron surface was shattering like the shell of an egg, and the Forgeworld exploded. Omnid manages to evade the Iron Warrior's ship as he forces an escape route for himself. Then, in the aftermath, Omnid decides to destroy the STC fragment, deciding it's better to destroy it than let the device fall into the hands of the Dark Mechanicum, and to also give himself a quest to destroy other similar dangerous knowledge, to stop it falling into the wrong hands. And if you like this video on the Mechanicum, maybe this one will grab you too.